Hello and welcome to Short Story Scene. I am your host, the storyteller, and here we have a tale called Inferno by Dante Alighieri. Canto 30. 'Twas at the time when Juno was enraged for a simile and against the Theban blood, and she already more than once had shown, so rough the reason Athamos became, and seeing his own wife and children twain walking encumbered upon either hand, he cried, "Spread out the nets, and I may take the lioness and her whelps upon the passage," and then extended his unpitying claws, seizing the first, who had the name Larichus, and whirled him around and dashed him on a rock, and she with other burthen drowned herself. And at the time when fortune downward hurled the Trojans' arrogance and all things dared, so that the king was with his kingdom crushed, Hecuba sad, disconsolate, and captive, when lifeless she beheld Polyxena, and of her Polydorus on the shore of the ocean was delirious, unaware, out of her senses like a dog she barked, so much that anguish had her mind distorted. But not of Thebes and the Furies, nor the Trojan, were ever seen in any one so cruel, the goading beast and much more human members. As I beheld two shadows pale and naked, who biting in the manner ran along, that a boar does when from the sty turned loose, one of Capocchio came and by the nape and seized with the teeth of his neck, so that in dragging it made his belly grate the solid bottom, and the Aretine, who trembling had remained, said to me, "That mad spirit is Ginny Sichichi, and raving goes thus harrying other people." "Oh," said I to him, "so many not the other set teeth on thee. Let it not weary thee to tell us who it is ere the dart hence." And he to me, "That is the ancient ghost of nefarious Myraha, who became beyond all rightful love her father's lover. She came to sin with him after this manner, by counterfeiting of another's form, and he who goeth yonder undertook, that he might gain the lady of the herd, to counterfeit in himself Busio Dante, and making a will of giving it due form. And after the two maniacs had passed, on whom I held mine eye, I turned it back and to look upon the other evil born. I saw one made in fashion of a lute, if he had only had the groin cut off, just at the point at which a man is forked. The heavy dropsy is so disproportions the limbs with humerus, which it ill concocts, and the face corresponds not to the belly, compelled him so that to hold his lips apart, and does the heretic, and because of thirst, one towards the chin and other upward turns. O ye who without any torment are, and why I know not in the world of woe, he said to us, "Behold it, to be attentive unto the miserable master Adam, and had while living much of what I wished, and now alas a drop of water crave." The rivulets from the verdant hills of Kisitin descended down on Arno, making their channels to the cold and moist. Ever before me stand, and not in vain, for far more doth the image dry me up than the disease that strips my face of flesh. The rigid justice that chastises me draweth occasion from the place in which I sinned, to put the more my sighs in flight. There is Romina, where I counterfeited the currency and prated with the Baptist, for which I left my body burned above. But if here could see the thirstful soul of Grudo and Alessandro, and for their brother, for Branda's font, and who would not give this sight? One is within already in their raving. Shades that are going around about speak truth, but that avails it me, whose limbs are tied. If I were only still so light that in the 100 years I could have advanced 1 inch, I had already started on the way, seeking him out among the squalid folk, although the circuit be 11 miles and be not less than half a mile across. For them I am in such a family, they did induce me into coining florins, which is the 3 carats of impurity, and I to him who are the 2 poor wretches that smoke like unto a wet hand in winter, lying in the clothes upon the right hand confines. I found them here, replied me, when I ran into the chasm, and since they have not turned, nor do I think they will forevermore. One the false woman is who accused Joseph, the other the false Sinon, Greek of Troy, and the acute fever that sent forth such reek, and one of them who felt himself annoyed at being preadventured named so darkly, smote with the first upon his hardened paunch, and gave it sound as if it were a drum. The master Adam smote him in the face, and with arm that did not seem to be less hard, saying to him, although be taken from me all motion, for my limbs and heavy are, and I have an arm unfretted in such need. Whereat he answered me, when thou didst go unto the fire, thou hadst it not so ready, and hadst it so more than thou wast coining, and dropsicle, and thou sayest true in that, and thou wast not so true in witness there, where thou wast questioned of the truth of Troy. If I spoke false, and thou falsely fittest the coin, said Sinon, and for one of fault I am here, and thou for more than any other demon. Remember, perjurer, about the horse, they may reply who had the swollen belly, and refuel be thy that the whole world's knew it, rueful and thee the thirst that wherewith cracks thy tongue in the Greek, and the putrid water that hedges so thy paunch before thine eyes. Then the false coiner, so in gaping wide thy mouth of speaking evil, as 'tis wont, because if I had thirst the humour stuffed me. Thou hast the burning in the head that aches, and then to look upon the mirror of Narcissus, and thou wouldst not want word many to invite thee. In listening to them was I wholly fixed, that when said the master to me, now just look for a little once, and I quarrel with thee. When I heard in anger speak to him, I turned me round towards him with such shame that still it eddies through my memory. And if he is who dreams of his own harm, who dreaming wishes it may be a dream, so that he carves out what is, as if it were not. Such I became, not having power to speak, for to excuse myself I wished, and still excuse myself I did not think I did. Lest shame doth wash away the greater fault, the master said, then this is thine has been. Therefore thou this burden of all sadness, and make account that I besides thee, and ever so come the pass the fortune bring thee, where there the people in the like dispute. For the base wished it is to wish to hear. And that concludes our tale of Inferno by Dante Alighieri, Canto 30. If you enjoy this content and would like to support it, please head on to Patreon. That is www.patreon.com/shortstoryscene. I'd like to thank my patron Drake for all your help, and thank you all for listening, and see you next episode. Bye.